Today we're taking a look at the Waveshare ESP32 S3 Touch LCD 4.3C box. That long name is important because there is also a B variant, and we'll touch on the differences. I'll put a link in the description down below for both of them. Those will be affiliate links, so if you click them, we get a small percentage, and we appreciate that. We'll go through the technical specifications, the programming options, the real-world example project, and then finally finish it up with a verdict. A quick disclaimer before we get started: Waveshare does support the Trail Current project, and so they did send us this device free of charge. They did not ask to review the script or ask us to send it to them before publishing it, so all of the opinions within this video remain our own. So we will get started with the physical design of this device. It comes in the enclosure already, and that is the dash box version. There is a version that doesn't come with it if you prefer that. On the back side, you'll notice that we have two 4mm threaded screws. Those come into play if you want to design brackets, which we've done for both a GoPro mount adapter as well as a phone cradle adapter, but you can also use it for DIN rail mounting as well. And then along the bottom, we have screw terminals. We'll get into the details of those in a little bit. On the left side here, we have LEDs for power charging and charge complete. So those light up indicating whether the device is charging, whether it's not charging, and whether the charging is complete. Followed by a physical power switch. And then sitting in between right here is an opening for the microphone. Then on the right-hand side, you're going to see here options for the boot and reset buttons, as well as a programming port, which is USB-C. That comes in really handy. And then another opening on this side for the second microphone, and followed by the SD card. On the very top, you will see openings here, and that is because this comes with a speaker built in. We'll give you an example of that once we get into the example project. To cover the rest of the features, we will go ahead and we will open this up. We've taken out the two screws on each side that allow you to open this case up, and then you just pry gently from the bottom. There is a snap fit in the top left corner, so you want to be careful of that. And then we'll start to dive in what's included on this board. Starting off with the MCU, it is running an ESP32 S3, and that's running at 240 megahertz. 16 megabytes of flash, and 8 megabytes of PS RAM. The screen resolution here is 800 by 480 with 65,000 colors. It does feature a 5-point capacitive touch screen, and if you want to easily design HMIs, check out our video on EEZ Studio that works with this device as well. For power, we have a wide voltage range here, which is why we find a lot of the Waveshare devices attractive. This one falls in line supporting 7 to 36 volts DC for the input. That input does also feature reverse polarity protection, but we don't like on this channel just following the specs. So as you can see, we physically tested this and verified that at that maximum voltage, not only does it accept it, but it also does continue to work even if you've flipped the polarity around on those. There is also a TVS protection diode, but a quick note here, if you're using this in an automotive application, that TVS diode doesn't handle surges that can come from cranking voltages on an automotive application. So if you're going to be doing that, be sure to use an external power supply, and that will ensure that the board survives those cranking cold amps. We did install a battery so that we could test that aspect of this device. The battery that we're using here, as you can see, is a 1000 milliamp hour battery. That connects via a 2-pin header that is 1.25 millimeters in pitch, and it is a 3.7 volt single cell lithium battery. The runtime with that battery, the screen on full brightness, occasional alarm sounds, and constant data transmission was about 1 hour and 20 minutes. You do have access to the battery level in code, but you do need to calibrate the ADC specific to your battery use, so just keep that in mind. Slim batteries are also required. The one that we used measures at 44 millimeters by 30 millimeters by 8 millimeters thick, and that thickness is just a little bit too much actually for this case. Wi-Fi. This board does support Wi-Fi 2.4 gigahertz, but only BGNN, does not support Wi-Fi 6. It has a built-in antenna, but it does not have a U.FL connector, so if range is an issue, there's no option here to connect that to SMA and run it outside of the case. It also supports Bluetooth, Bluetooth 5, low energy, GPIOs. This is where this device does have a limitation. There are only 2 digital outputs and 2 digital inputs, but because it's an industrial grade device, those are inputs and outputs that feature optocoupler isolation. And what that means is that your inputs can range from 5 to 36 volts DC, so you can measure things much bigger values than you can with a typical 3.3 volt logic on an ESP32. That does also mean, though, that if you have 3.3 volt logic devices, they're not going to register because the minimum voltage here is 5 volts. There are also I2C connections right here on the terminals, so you can use those if you're hooking other devices up. Quick and easy to connect there. For audio, you will see the speaker that's already pre-installed. That does come with it, and it connects through this pin header right here. That's what the opening for is in the top, is to let that audio out. And then similarly on each side, you saw those openings when we were looking at the physical design. Those are for each of the 2 dual mics in the dual mic array. And you can see the synthesized voice sample in the example project that comes preloaded on the device. Next, you will see the RTC battery installed right over here. That takes a CR927 battery, and that's what allows us to keep time even through power cycles if we're not using the lithium battery to keep it on all the time. For programming, it does support the Arduino IDE, PlatformIO, and ESP-IDF, so a broad range of programming options available to you. If you'd like to see example code that we're going to show you next, head over to our GitHub page. That is github.com/trailcurrentoss. This project that we're about to show you will be live on that site, and you can review all of the code samples. We're not going to walk through all the features of our project, but we will touch on a few key areas of this device that made it a nice fit for what we're doing here. The first thing that we leveraged was the RTC. As you can see here, we display a clock, and that's able to keep time without the lithium battery installed throughout power cycles, and that's thanks to that separate battery for the RTC. Then the next thing that came into play for us was the large generous flash on this device. So we use a lot of images and graphics and fonts in our UI, as well as SSL to secure the communications. And to do that, you do need a large amount of flash, which this device comes with. We also wanted to make sure that the touchscreen remained responsive while all of those graphics were rendering, and you can see that happening here. Next up is the Wi-Fi. So we are transmitting all of the data on screen right now via MQTT. And so this does not support Wi-Fi 6, but the connection is strong enough for our use case in this example here. And then after that, the speaker was the next item. So we have in our application a cabinet alarm that will get notified here. I'll go ahead and trigger that and then get closer so that you can hear what the sound of that speaker sounds like. Obviously, it's not loud enough to wake you up in the middle of the night, but it works in this use case where you're trying to draw attention to the screen when something went wrong. You do have software access to adjust the volume of the speaker, but as you just heard it right now was with the volume at the top level, so you can turn it down, but you're not going to go any louder. So the next feature that this device offers is the backlight adjustment, which is really important in vehicle use. So we have a slider here in our application, and as you adjust it, it will adjust the backlight of the screen. Because you have access to the backlight control, then that also enables capabilities like automatic timeout of the backlight, which we have implemented via our settings. You can set the time, and after that time expires, then the backlight will automatically turn off. The USB-C power, so it is very easy to find adapters for vehicle applications to just run this thing right off of USB-C, which is what we do in our application. And then finally up at the top in the toolbar, because we have the battery installed, we do take advantage of the software ability to read those battery levels and display it, so that if somebody wanted to use this device without plugging it in, or if they lose connectivity and want to keep it running, at least they have an indicator right at the top. So again, if you want to find out more information on this particular application, head over to trailcurrent.com, take a look for what's inside, and spotter, you'll see this guy here. So the verdict. Who is this device for? Anyone looking for an HMI that fits into a tight space, someone who wants an out-of-the-box design with no enclosure or CAD work involved, battery-powered projects that can use deep sleep to conserve power, or anyone looking to handle higher voltage input signals. Let us know in the comments below. What project do you have in mind? Are you thinking of using this one? Do you have an alternative? We always like to hear what other people are doing, and we always take a look at those recommendations. So if you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a like. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe and the bell notifications so that you get notified anytime we upload new videos. And until next time, remember, it is your vehicle, your data, wilderness wired.